a show that tackles the big issues affecting the BVI and the rest of the Caribbean. Searches for answers to today's big questions and gives viewers a unique perspective on developing stories. Follow the big story with me, Kathy Richards, only on GTV. This show is brought to you by the National Bank of the Virgin Islands, Cyril B. Ramney Tertola Pier Park, and Digicel. Sign up for Digicel Plus Home Light bundles, faster internet, movies, and sports. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever it is that you are tuned in to us here on JTV for a beautiful Monday conversation. And I am so delighted to have as guests Lynn and Melissa. They're going to be telling us who they are first before we get deeper into this conversation. Ladies, first of all, welcome, and cheers to Monday.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, so I'll start with you, Melissa. Could you introduce yourself?
Certainly. So my name is Melissa Ferrara Julusik. I'm the Economics Manager of the TRC.
And you, Lynn?
I'm Lynn Robinson. I'm Director General of the International Institute of Communications, a global organisation.
Awesome! International Director, meaning that you just came in. You're not resident
Yes,
here.
no, I'm not.
Well, you are, right?
Yes.
Awesome. So we understand that in a few days we'll be having a whole lot of people swarming the Virgin Islands, participating in a very big meeting, which is the very first of its kind to happen here. So I'll first hit off with you, Lynn, to talk a bit about the institution.
Hi. Yes, thank you for inviting us. This is our third meeting of our International Institute of Communications Caribbean chapter. We launched that just around 3 years ago by launching in Barbados, and we've since been to St. Lucia, and now we're here on beautiful British Virgin Islands, and my first time, so I'm delighted to be here. So thank you very much for the invitation to come along.
I don't have to wonder about the welcome you would have gotten when you landed here, and I'm thinking that you are enjoying it to the fullest. Melissa, I'll turn to you a little bit because I know you have some background being from the local scene on the ground with the planning of seeing your face so many times popping by to make sure that you have it all down packed. Tell us what the preparation is like for such a major event here in the Virgin Islands, and what are the roles that the TRC is playing in making it ready?
Sure. So the event is the IIC Caribbean chapter meeting. And as Lynn said, we are hosting it in the BVI. The TRC is hosting this event. And the TRC staff collectively has been working tirelessly to make sure that it is the event that we want and to bring it to a success. So this event is a 2-day event, and we're bringing persons from all across the Caribbean and also internationally as well. Persons would be would be regulators in the ICT, media, and telecom space, as well as senior leaders in business, government, and industry. We want to bring these persons together. Any other persons who are part of, who are interested in the subject matter of the event are also invited to attend.
Okay.
And this is the purpose of this meeting is to bring all these persons together so that we can spark discussions and exchange ideas on telecommunications and how we can create forward-looking policies to better the Caribbean region as a whole.
Awesome. And Lynn, over to you. As you said, this is the third of its kind.
It is indeed.
You want to do a little bit of reflection. I think you were appointed director back in 2020.
That's correct, yes.
My research as well.
It was very good, yes. So really the IIC was formed back actually in 1969, and we spun out from the UN. So the United Nations put together a working party to really test about broadcasting from satellite, which is interesting given the space that we are now, and we're touching on satellites this week as well. It's an area for discussion. And the IIC was formed because it spun out from that working party back then in 1969. So we bring together regulators, national regulators, competition commissions and industry. And what we do is it's around gathering people in an impartial and neutral space, for them to collaborate and discuss and knowledge share, really, all of the subjects that Melissa has touched on and the agenda items that we have. So lots to discuss in that neutral environment.
Do you want to delve into some of the topics that are going to be the primary focus of this meeting?
Yeah, first of all is always around security and trust. So very much around the cybersecurity element, but also around what is beneficial to the Caribbean islands and BVI. So really looking at satellites, subsea cables, how technology impacts the tourism, and what is good for the end user and the customer, which is all around what regulators are for. It's all around the end user and the general public, and making sure that they can use technology in a safe environment and trusted environment.
And being the director, you have oversight of, as well as the Virgin Islands, like the other Caribbean countries. You want to do a comparison or show the similarities in the various spaces?
Yeah, in fact, actually 10 days ago, I was with very many islands from the Pacific Islands, and they have very much the same issues and challenges that face the Caribbean. So the synergy between the two is quite interesting. But it's also that some of the services and products and so on that the Caribbean islands have put in place, many other regulators are really interested to hear what's happening, because things can evolve and they can be translated into other systems and products and so on as well. So our membership is global, and as I say, we cover all continents, whether that's across Europe, the Middle East, Asia, Oceania, and of course Caribbean and North and South Americas. So it's all around knowledge sharing and making sure people have the space in a non-political environment, which we are as a neutral organisation, to discuss and test and validate ideas, not only amongst peers and regulators or competition commissions, but also with industry. So it's making sure that there's that space for collaboration and discussion and building those trusted relationships, which really help things move forward.
What do you anticipate to be one of the hottest topics to come up?
Well, I would say AI is across the globe, AI, and also online safety.
Yes.
But over to Melissa for TRC.
I would agree, AI for sure. I would also say satellite and the digital vault. How can the Caribbean become a digital vault, a haven for connectivity and knowledge and stuff like that? So I think that would be really important as well.
Awesome. Well, at this juncture, we have Mr. Guy Malone, who is the head of TRC. He has just popped in, and we want to also hear from him. So we're going to take a quick, short break, and we'll be right back with the Guy joining Lynn.
Thank you.
welcome back, welcome back,
Thank
and
you.
welcome back. Welcome to you, Guy. It's a pleasure to have you here. It's not the first time that we're talking, but it's been a very long time ago since we have had a really sit-down conversation. And this is just a great time for us to have a great conversation. And like Melissa and Lynn, we were discussing earlier, the foundation and the basis of what's going to be happening over 2 days here in the Virgin Islands. But with you sitting at the helm, we all oftentimes, whenever we think about TRC, we think about bandwidth and cost and all of that. What this is not about.
Well, this is not about the regular 9 to 5 or the regular stuff that we do, but what I would say, to bring it into perspective, is that on an international forum, the TRC couldn't be the TRC without the involvement of the international people like the IIC and stuff. The region is talking a lot about harmonization in the aspect of one single regulator. So this meeting, to bring it into perspective, what it's about, you're asking me what it's not about, but I can tell you what it's about. It's about, opening the minds of the local people with respect to what the regulator focuses on in order to regulate the operators. Next week, there is the World Congress, where there's the ministerial program for the world to understand and to see and showcase the new technologies. A regulator job in the BVI is for us to, we lag behind with reference to putting regulations in place that governs the technology that evolves. So with us here, a meeting of this magnitude, which we are very proud of the Commission to be partnering with the IIC, is for us to showcase from a tourism perspective, from a health perspective, from disaster perspective of the things that are needed or what we need to concentrate on. I will be on a panel, where we are talking about data, how important it is to have a harmonized data Caribbean. Whereas you'll be we want to discuss the things of what would be needed for us to harmonize as a region. One of the important things that, that I think that the community should, food for thought is that we shouldn't work in silos. There are different government, ICT government ministers of the region, and the region try to bring them together. So IIC with this Caribbean chapter is to help broaden the dialogue with respect to the different Caribbean islands, broaden the perspective of from a health, from a telecommunication, from a broadcasting, from anything to do with technology, that it's important that one of the buzzwords that you keep hearing, the neighboring U.S. Virgin Islands and U.S. Virgin Islands and the rest of the world, is you Starlink, satellite communication. So we're gonna have people, we're gonna have a representative from Starlink who will be presenting, who will be sitting on a panel and give the community a chance to ask the right questions, because a lot of people think it's that they hear something and it's the Commission, it's Guy Malone and his team can make it happen, but it's a process. So to discuss all of the different things, the harmonization is one important thing. And harmonization in the Caribbean is not a simple, from where I sit, a simple agenda, because every Caribbean island, the way they do business, their culture in every aspect of is different. We spend different currencies. We think differently. So this meeting, for us, I think it was mentioned, but the TRC is very proud to collaborate with IIC because, this is the third time they're having a Caribbean chapter. And a small country like the BVI, we step up to the plate and we want to make sure it's a grant, not just for the Commission, but for the BVI of a whole, to say, this is what's happened, because tomorrow technology is what run the world. Right now, you can't put technology, you have to put technology on a level with respect to food, with respect to, water. If a person leaves their phone home, trust me, they're going to be late because they're going back home for their phone.
Yes.
Everything is in the palm of your hand with your cell phone. So I hope I covered
Quite a mouthful with a great lot of information there. But like I had asked Lynn and Melissa, for you, what would be the jump out topic there during the conference? Would it be Starlink?
No, we the data harmonization. Why data harmonization is important is that from the BVI as a small country, we are for years now trying to working with the government to put everything online to to ensure that the consumers can pay their taxes, can get their passports, can all of those works those online. But so the data has to be stored somewhere. It has to be. There's a process. There's cybersecurity. There's one of the new buzzword is that companies are now embarking on putting satellites in orbit so that they can communicate. So it's a challenge for the operators now on the ground on where do they go from here. So all these different topics would be, would be discussed. There will be people will be on panel. We have professionals coming in that will be on panel to discuss where they are with respect to the neck of the woods they come from, and what we should be concentrating on. One of the highlights for us is that the TRC has embarked on what's the word I'm using? A collaboration with Spectrum Management Authority out of Jamaica. It's working with my Spectrum team, with Mr. Nelson and his team, whereas we'll be now going and doing all the different tests and surveillance of the spectrum that we allocate, because that's important. We have ships coming in sometime, they interfere with the local frequencies that are allocated to the operators or even the services, marine services. So we want harmonization in all of that. It has to be in tandem, but it's not a simple way, because as I say, every Caribbean island has a different way on how they structure their business, how the government is run. But at the end of the day, from the ITU perspective, it's the basic is the same on where do we go or what governs how we do it.
And the thing about it as well is that the technology is evolving steadily. So,
Yes.
You already have to catch up, much less to keep a pace.
Yes, you have it. So for me, as you said, the topic that data discussion, that tying in health services with electricity. One of the things people don't know, the electricity company, they have the poles. You can information can be transferred through electricity cables, through submarine cables. So the technology is evolving. It's important. We are at 5G, and I believe soon you're going to be hearing the buzzword 6G. In the BVI, we are now embarking on a program to get the operators on board to deploy 5G services, because you can't stop the evolvement of the technologies, and and at the end of the day, we want to open people's mind, because one of the things that the TRC suffers with is people, everybody with having a cell phone. It's a great thing, but sometimes it's not so a great thing, because people can Google and there's a lot of stuff out there, and
many times we can't decipher what
is. So for us, we want to showcase where we at, how we do what we do, because it's not a simple process. We just can't think about it and make it happen. We have to go through a process with, consultation, with changing the regulations. So with Lynn, with the IIC and the rest of the team that's coming, for us, we want to actually let the community know that it's a process, and we are doing our best to be on top of things. One of the things that people complain a lot is about the pricing, but they need to understand the BVI is a small community, and even though we're a small community, the operators, what they have, the infrastructure that they have to build is the same infrastructure that will be built in any other country, any other continent, and it is what it is. But with respect to the small amount of subscribers we have compared to our neighboring U.S. Virgin Islands or even Puerto Rico, everything that is done where telecommunications is concerned, the operators pass it back onto the consumer. So the TRC, along with the rest of the world, the ITU, the IIC, Canto, CTU, all of those organizations. CTU are the organization that governs bringing the ministers of telecommunication together. Canto is the organization that responsible for bringing the operators together to harmonize. ORCA is responsible for bringing the regulators together. From a global perspective, IIC is the organization responsible for bringing all of the regulators globally together, where we have to sit down, discuss, and find the best way forward with respect to making you, Kathy, and consumers alike happy with respect to when you go and you pay for a service.
Yes, and we want to know that we're happier.
Yeah.
Yeah. We wouldn't tell a lie, it's not all lost. We're not so totally devastated in any way.
Yes.
But being happier is a very good thing. And Lynn, I want to throw here to you
Yeah.
now. What is it that you anticipate to come out in a major way from this conference?
So I think the key is, as Guy's touched on, it's the subject matters that we're talking about, the themes that are running through the 2 days. But it's also the fact that as a neutral organisation and a global neutral organisation, we're not political in any way. So it gives everybody from regulators and industry to civil society to business services that opportunity to talk and discuss very openly without any sort of judgment or any restrictions.
Yes,
I think
yes.
is the key there. So from that, there should be a lot of knowledge sharing. So there are a lot of takeaways in hearing what others are doing. A lot of hearing about best practice, what's worked well, but I think just as importantly, what hasn't worked well for others as well. And then also the opportunity to sort of test and validate ideas. As you mentioned earlier, technology is moving at a rapid pace and it's very difficult, I think, for regulators to keep up, particularly if they're restricted in any way on that development. So hearing about industry and what they're doing and what their aims are is extremely important takeaways for a lot of either government organisations or regulators.
Awesome.
And Kathy,
yes.
before you pause, one good thing that I like to work with the IIC with is that at the end of the day, the IIC puts together a report that can be shared. And, I would like to have a follow-up that after that we can share that to the public and what we have achieved, what we have discussed, and, what are the actions and where do we see ourselves going and how would we get there? So for us, we are very, very delighted, happy, excited to be, at this phase of telecommunication. For me, I've been in this industry a long time, and for me,
a very long time.
too long. And for me, it's a nice gesture when it was pitched to us that we can we can do something like this, and we want to do something like this because at the end of the day, it can only get technology is not going to go away. Telecommunication is not going to go away. It's the future.
Okay. All right. This was an interesting conversation, and as we wrap up, Melissa would have spoken about who can register. You want to? Is there still room for more persons to register, especially those who are not in the industry?
Yes, that's what we want. The more, the merrier. I remember I having a conversation with a gentleman, and I said to him, go on the website and register. I guess Lynn would have said it is. I think it's IIC iicom.org.
iicom.org.
Yes,
.org.
Yeah.
Or directly through the TRC.
Or through the TRC website, which is www.trc.vg. And yes, we want people there because we want different mindsets. We just don't want the engineers or the lawyers. We want consumers. We want everybody, because you may have a burning question. I said to one person, we invited a representative from Starlink, and with that, they're excited to come because a lot of people are now asking me, what can they do? How can they go about getting a license to get a Starlink, apparatus? But I would say here for the public that we are revamping our regulations, and we have presented to the Ministry of Communication and the Minister of Communication draft regulations to govern a lot of things, including special licenses for satellite services.
Awesome. All right, so you just opened the door there, and you know I'm not going to back down on it. So to hear the outcome of the report would have been produced, and you know you would have had time to sit down and go through it. We will come and talk again, Lynn. I want to encourage you to enjoy every bit that you can. I hope that when the conference finishes, this day you're not flying out the next day because you got to get some time.
She was here from Saturday, so she had been enjoying.
And I have managed to go to the botanical gardens, which were stunning, really beautiful, very welcoming. Wow. So that was really enjoyable and a real highlight so far. But I think the 2 days that we've got on Wednesday and Thursday will just tip that highlight even more.
All right.
Thank you.
And make those who come in just the day before a little jealous.
Yes.
Guy, Melissa, and Lynn, I want to thank you all, as well as
Gregory Nelson. Gregory Nelson.
As well as Gregory, who he was very, not so much wanting to be on camera, but a very integral part of all of it.
Very much. It's a very team effort.
And all the members of your team, Guy, and your team as well.
Thank you. Yes,
we look forward to this, and thank you so much for sitting with us and having this discourse. I know it's going to be very informative, and I trust that everyone who has an interest can pull out some time to go and be a part of such a great discussion. And once again, thank you for being on.
Delighted to meet you.
And to you, our audience, thank you for the pleasure of your time being here with us on this very special feature. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.